All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How y'all feeling? Good to see y'all here. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Someone in the chat's named Ominous Heat. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. I just realized there's a lot of layers to the thumbnail and the title of the show. Oops, we did it again. It's actually not about. I mean, you might think it's about the banking crisis. Oops, we did it again. It's actually about something else. It's about the fact that, like, when there's sensitive information that might incriminate the powers that be out there, or just something that just needs to go away. It's like, oh, I don't know, we lost it. We lost the videotape, the tape of Jeffrey Epstein's cell, the surveillance tape. Oh, we lost it. Oh, Osama bin Laden's body. Oh, we dumped it at sea. It's the information, the technical information on how we got to the moon and back. Oh, it was erased. Unfortunately, we lost it. It's like, what the hell? I love it's great that we put so much trust in the level of ineptitude of the people we put so much trust in is amazing. And, and I don't for 1 second give any credence to the fact that, it's just they're just good people. They're just trying their, no, they're not. They're not good people. They're deceitful, horrific psychopaths who know exactly what they're doing, sloppy at best. What was it? Oh, Hillary Clinton's server. There's another one. You could go down the list. There were so many of these things that have happened. We lost trillions of dollars, right? The military-industrial complex. Oh, Department of Defense. Oh, we lost it. Oh, I don't know. Do you guys have an accounting system that can tell you where it went? No. So, right? It's laws and rules and regulations and right. In-depth analysis of what's really going on, transactions for the little people, for the regular people. But when it comes to the people in charge, the people in power, really, big agencies and monetary institutions and whatever, and military industrial complexes, defense departments, when it comes to them, sloppiness and just absolute chaos is completely acceptable. And everybody's like, yeah, okay. That's how it goes. Let me just clue you in. It ain't sloppiness. That's on purpose. And, a very simple answer to this would be that people get held accountable for this sloppiness. Oh, you lost this thing? Oh, you lost this really important document? Oh, you lost trillions of dollars? Oh, well, then we're going to have to, you're going to have to be fired, or you're going to have to go to jail. Your company's going to have to be disbanded, something. Right? Just like people who commit credit card fraud or rob a liquor store or drive drunk, or right, just like those people have to pay a price for their mistakes. Why don't these people ever pay a price? Oh, oopsie, we got the wrong information about weapons of mass destruction, and we went into Iraq and killed millions of people and spent trillions of dollars, and completely upended the stability of the region. Oopsie, sorry. Why do they get off with a sorry, or I don't know. How come these people don't go to jail? George Bush is a war criminal. George Bush is and Dick Cheney and all the people in the Bush administration. Why weren't they held to account? Why weren't they in hearings all day during the Obama administration? Why weren't they held up on charges of falsifying evidence and records that led to the deaths of millions of people? Oh yeah, I'd say that's a kind of an oversight. Where's the oversight committee on that? But speaking of which, I guess we'll get right into it. Massive archive of Iraq war lies disappeared from the Center for Public Integrity. Massive archive of Iraq war lies disappeared from Center for Public Integrity. I mean, not that anybody is going to be held to account. Not that anybody's going to be taken to task, asked a question, hemmed up. On March 20th, 2003, the Iraq war killing began. It continued for 8 years, and thousands of U.S. troops remained stationed in Iraq today. The war that led to deaths of up to 1 million people originally had public support due to the lies that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction and links to the 9/11 terrorists. Remembering the details of the scale of this deadly deception is crucial to help prevent such tragedies from repeating. I don't know how there have been the same tragedies that have happened after that. So it didn't prevent anything. Why didn't it prevent anything? Because nobody got held to account. Nobody got in trouble. They got given more money. There's now the war budget is another $100 billion this year and another $100 billion next year and another $100 billion next year. Unfortunately, the largest public archive of George W. Bush's administration's false statements leading up to the Iraq war has disappeared. Oops. In January 2008, the Center for Public Integrity provided a valuable public service. It compiled and maintained a searchable database of 935 false statements on Iraq made by President George W. Bush and his top officials. The database of public statements drew from interviews, articles, speeches, and government reports from the period of 2 years beginning September 11th, 2001. Sadly, the historic archive appears to have fallen into a memory hole. It's unclear what day the data set vanished, but according to a February 2021 update on CPI's website, it is unavailable because of technical issues. I first asked CPI in May 2022 if they could explain what exactly happened and if there was any plan to bring back the archive. I recently followed up over the phone and email with still no response. Matt Arfula, by the way. This is Matt Arfula. So it's been disappeared for 2 years. Those lies don't exist because they never have existed. And I'm sure if they could scrub every single news article or broadcast news clip from the internet regarding that, they probably would. Which is wild. We'll come back to
Isla Pie.
Sorry guys. Sorry. Hold on 1 second. My apologies for that. Well, in the same vein, let's read something from. We're going backwards today in my show notes. Let's read this from Caitlin Johnson. Stop calling the Iraq War a mistake. It wasn't an oopsie. It wasn't an oopsie. Right? There's a clip going around from, a CIA former intelligence head of the Bush administration in 2013 saying, they intentionally distorted whatever information we were giving them to gin up the story, right? This was not a mistake. This was intentional. When you make a mistake, you make changes to ensure the mistake is not repeated. Nobody responsible for that invasion suffered any consequences of any kind. And that's what I just said. I just said that. Nobody got in trouble. Nobody got the axe. Nobody went to jail. Nobody got fines. Nobody got, locked up, raided, taken out by the gendarmes. Nobody got that treatment. Stop calling the Iraq War a mistake. When you make a mistake, you make changes to ensure that mistake is not repeated. Nobody responsible for that invasion suffered any consequences of any kind. Zero policy changes were made. And the unipolarist ideology which led to it has become more entrenched than ever. If the invasion of Iraq was a mistake, Western government officials would be residing in prison cells at The Hague. Countless pundits and journalists would now be working behind cash registers in retail shops. And the U.S. foreign policy would have undergone a massive, dramatic overhaul. Instead, the exact opposite has happened. The Western officials who launched the Iraq War are esteemed members of elite society, hobnobbing and whatnot with all the other bigwigs. The pundits and journalists who manufacture consent for it are at the top of their field, and securing U.S. unipolar hegemony by any means necessary is the accepted status quo norm in mainstream politics. This is because the Iraq War was not a mistake. It was a cold, calculated decision which had the effects it was intended to have: the advancement of Western energy interest, greater geostrategic control, and the expansion of the U.S. war machine in key geostrategic regions. Someone who makes a mistake doesn't get everything they always wanted as a result and suffers zero consequences for the damage it caused. That's what happens to someone who took a deliberate, calculated action in their own interests. You can only pretend the Iraq War was a mistake if you accept the official reason for starting it: getting those WMDs, spreading freedom and democracy to those poor Iraqis who we love, and making the Middle East a safer and more peaceful place for everyone. It's not okay for grown adults in the year 2023 to believe those were the real intentions behind the invasion of Iraq. It's not okay to believe that. If the invasion of Iraq was a mistake, there would have been changes put in place to make sure nothing like that ever happens again. Those changes were never made because they thoroughly intend to do similar things in the future. Actually, I think it all started with Vietnam, right? Vietnam was a big fat mistake, but they didn't decide that the war itself was a mistake. They decided that the things that allowed people to see the war and be upset about it were the mistake, right? Having journalists on the ground, having pictures and photos of dead people and dead bodies and dead babies and all the killing and mayhem that went on there. The release of information, coffins coming home, dead bodies coming home, the release of information, about the war and how horrific it was. That was the mistake, they decided, not the war itself. They were like, in the future, we want to do this again, but we want to make sure that nobody has a problem with it and that we don't have massive protests and revolts at home. And people showing up on the U.S. Capitol, getting, demanding answers and getting real upset and irate and having a complete cultural revolution around the fact that we're in this disgusting illegal war. We don't want that to happen next time. So what we're going to do is, make sure nobody sees what's happening over there, and then nobody will care, and everybody will get the sanitized cartoon version of it And they'll, be like, well, that's just, don't worry about it. We got Target and Starbucks. We're good. Oh, and by the way, we'll also undermine the education system and stop giving everybody free college so that we have less of these educated, aware human beings in our society that might be able to put two and two together and come out and protest, right? And write books and articles and come out and say, like, no, we don't want this. Or, discover new ways of organizing themselves, which, really challenges the people in power. We'll undermine the educational system. We'll put people in debt. We'll trap people in debt. We'll make sure that they can never question us again. And we'll also generate a bunch of think tank funded pundits out there who are telling you, the government is bad. Don't trust the government. The government can't do anything, and they can't do anything right, and, less of regulation and less, screw the government. That's all we had. Just screw them. Don't participate. You can't change them. They're just evil and bad, and that's all, you can't expect anything more from the government, thus allowing the government to just do more of whatever it is that they want. Soon, Ronald Reagan will be in office carrying this think tank funded message of, I've never heard anything worse than the words, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help," right? That was Ronald Reagan's famous line. Oh yes, Andre, you're getting there. You got it. You got it. Anyways, she says, imagine writing this line and thinking it's normal. Secretary of State Antony Blinken provided the clearest articulation of the administration's China policy in a speech last May at George Washington University, dismissing engagement as a policy failure. Mr. Blinken said the United States had tried with little success to persuade or compel China to abide by American rules or the rules of the international institutions, which are just made up shits that the U.S., right? The rules-based order, that's just some made up, like, well, we're doing things the right way, and we're doing things by the rules-based order, and we want everybody to abide by the rule-based order, which is whatever we want, whatever we say, that's the rules-based order, right? And if the rules-based order ever applies to us, well then, hell no. We're not, we don't know what you're talking about. You must be a fascist or a Nazi. Well, the rules of international institutions, he described China as increasingly determined to impose its priorities on other nations. It's not whataboutism to say it's absurd to charge Putin with war crimes without charging George W. Bush. It's a completely devastating argument against the claim being made. If the law doesn't apply to everyone, then it's not the law. It's just corruption. It's a tool of the powerful. By the way, here she's going to get to this. You know that the ICC, the International Criminal Court, put out a warrant for Putin. Listen. The U.S. blocked sharing evidence on Russian atrocities in Ukraine with the International Criminal Court. Why? Why, you might ask? Why would they do this when they're, clearly, Putin is the worst guy ever? He's the big bad man. He's the unprovoked invader. He's the fascist. He's the imperialist. Why would the U.S. block? Why would the U.S. block this information? Well, because they don't want the ICC to actually point their viewfinder on the U.S. and go, oh, what are you guys doing, right? They don't want a rules-based order. They don't want the rules to apply to them, right? So they will block something that might get close to, oh, well, if we help out in this investigation of Russia and Putin, right? If we help out in this criminal case against Putin, well, we might set a precedent or give right? Give some awareness to the idea that, well, maybe we're doing those things, and maybe that international criminal court can come for us. You guys are you guys good? I'm seeing some comments in the chats about something. Anyways, it's hilarious that Putin has been hit with an arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court, not only on the 20th anniversary of the invasion of Iraq, but also a few days after the Pentagon intervened to stop the Biden administration from helping the ICC compile evidence of Russian war crimes. This is very, very interesting because it might lead to the ICC prosecution of American war crimes. One of the funniest empire narratives we're being asked to believe today is that the U.S. is militarily encircling its number one rival, China, on the other side of the planet, defensively. I hear people say I oppose the Chinese government, not the Chinese people. Oh, cool. Sort of like the exact same thing literally every warmongering neocon has said about literally every country they want to destroy since the turn of the century. You're not making an important or interesting distinction when you say you oppose a foreign government and not its people. You're just painting the same pretty picture over the same ugly agenda as every war slut since 9/11. China should start arming Mexican cartels so they can defend themselves against the coming U.S. invasion. Per the U.S. playbook, Washington should have no problem with this. I've seen people use Marxist-sounding rhetoric to justify NATO expansion and U.S. proxy warfare. I've seen people use anti-imperialist jargon to justify encirclement of China. It's like how people use the Bible to justify racism and other ugly things. Your beliefs don't matter if your heart's in the wrong place. Indeed, reading all the right books and having all the correct concepts won't protect you from error. Only clarity of vision can keep you on the straight and narrow, and that takes hard, dedicated, rigorously honest inner work. No amount of accumulated knowledge will substitute for this. We've all known people who share what they think of as noble ideological beliefs, but are actually garbage human beings once you get to know them. Oh, I know a couple of those. It's sad. It's not sad, it's actually frightening. Having the right beliefs, people that mouth words that make it seem like they're actually, have like emotional intelligence, or have deep understanding of certain things and psychology, right? Have you ever known somebody like that? Somebody says things and you go like, oh, right, this person's on the ball, and then you get to know them and you're like, oh my God, you're actually a crazed lunatic 3-year-old child inhabiting a human body, and you just mouth these things because people will eat this up. These people have figured out how to put up a facade of intelligence and, depth, right? And that's all it is. They're very cunning people. But if you actually get to know them deeply, you will be deeply troubled and probably also hurt. So don't do that. If you know anybody like that, get as far away from them as you can quickly. Anyways, having the right beliefs won't make you a better person. It won't protect you from applying those beliefs in a very unwholesome way. Having all the right political opinions is no substitute for being a good human being. Ticking all the right conceptual boxes is no substitute for psychological health. Reading all the right books is no substitute for real inner work. Concepts are worthless without inner clarity. You've got to do the work. All right. Good article from Caitlin Johnson. I mean, and we could probably apply a lot of this, what's going on with this to what is going on with, the looming or coming banking crisis, which is just a repeat. Gene says, Kevin, I have that experience frequently. That's not good. I'm sorry to hear that. I've had it a few times in my life. Luckily, not frequently, but frequently enough. Frequently enough that I can spot it now. Now I can see it kind of coming a mile away. As soon as somebody starts acting in a particular manner or saying certain things, I'm like, yeah, I see you. I see you. Hold on one second, Fantomas. I'll take your call in a moment. Real quick, good way to support the channel is at buymeacoffee.com/blackbearnews. Another great way to support the channel is Rockfin Tips. Also, YouTube super chats are a good way to support the channel. Also, Venmo, Cash App links. What the heck? What? God dang it, Rockfin. Why is Rockfin kicking me out of Rockfin while I'm doing a stream? I'll never understand this. But dang, that's annoying. Please. Rockfin, please don't do that. Jesus. Anyways. I think I'm back. I'm trying to get back. Okay. Should be back now on Rockfin. Oh, Jon Stewart? Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, the banking crisis, right? We're going to repeat this thing again. That also happened under George Bush's watch. Oh, whoopsie. All right. Fantomas, how you doing?
Speaking of intellectual facade, I was watching Bill Maher last night. He was talking about, he said that he didn't think that there was anyone starving in America as a child. And I was thinking, how would you know that? How the heck would you know if children were starving or not? And to me, that's
Wait, I mean, that's just out of control because...
That's what I mean. It's crazy when you think about it, Kev, because this happens all the time. People, nobody's starving in America. Well, how would you know that?
Dude, I'm going to show a video right now. I'm going to show you a video right now of somebody in Sacramento who's filming all these, people are living in trailers and campers and their cars along the side of the road. It's all over the place. It's all over the place in L.A. Everywhere in L.A. There are people starving and homeless in L.A. And it's spread. It used to be like a few years ago, 5 years ago, it was kind of hidden, right? Like you wouldn't see it until you got to South Central, right? Or deep in like industrial, kind of forgotten LA, right? The outskirts of LA. And then, I'd be driving around and I'd come across a few, some streets in an area, that's just kind of whatever, forlorn or whatever. And there's, streets are lined with campers and people living in trailers and campers and living on the side of the street. That was 5 years ago. Now today, there are people like in very Tony, now it's all the way up into, areas like Hollywood, Silver Lake, Echo Park, like, places that are supposed to be like, cool and hipster and like gentrified and like up and coming, and people there, all the houses cost $2 million. And there are campers and trailers lining the roads in these areas. It's everywhere, right? It literally, like, people are just, I don't know, getting kicked out of their $2 million house and just moving into the trailer across the street. Like, shit like that is I see people on the side of the road that look like literally they just took all the possessions and belongings that they could fit into the back of a truck, and somebody just dropped them off on a fucking sidewalk, and they're just sitting there with like the last of their shit that they could grab out of their house. It's fucking scary. Sorry.
Well, what's funny? I think they should put a ceiling on how much real estate and rent costs, because you can see the experiment has failed, Kev. It has failed all across this country, all across this world. You can't just price anything in terms of real estate and land, because you see the effect. What happens? You basically bring us closer and closer to civil war.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and when you say stuff about people aren't starving or not hungry,
Yeah.
I mean, I know people who have like full-time jobs that go to food banks here. And, I actually live in a pretty, pretty nice neighborhood, like, right. As neighborhoods go, I live in a nice neighborhood, and I live in a city where the median home cost is like a lot of, wealthy people live here. Right. And so, but I know people who live in this, live and work in the city and work, basically pretty secure jobs that like go to food banks, like, because rent is just that high, right?
I'll give you a perfect example. My brother, who's been living in the Virgin Islands for, I don't know, a decade plus, he's going back to live in my state, Maine, because you can't make it anymore.
Wow.
You can't make it anymore. You can't make it with 3 jobs. Think about this, people. You can't make it with 3 jobs in the Virgin Islands. They'll let you go in a minute's notice, even faster than that. That's what's happening all across this country, people. That's the reality that Bill Maher and people like that, they need to come to a realization faster than we can hope. I mean, that's the reality of what we're dealing with right now.
Yep. And they're, I mean, they really are putting a lot of lipstick on that pig.
Yeah.
Trying to dress it up and make it seem like, everything's fine. No, inflation's not that bad. No, I think, don't worry. And you should worry. We're reaching a point where it's just, half the country is going to be living in tent cities. And so that there's, what does that do to the whole, like, I'm, working class, middle class, upper class, when you do have something that's going to look like an Octavia Butler novel, where you have the last of the rich people inside of like walled cities, and then everyone else is like scrambling for scraps.
So one last thing, Andrew Yang was on as well on Bill Maher, and they mentioned climate very briefly, but I bet you can guess what they talked about. The majority, they talked about AI, which is funny to me because there's nothing you can do about AI in the sense that people love computers, right? They love computers. They want to make it easier for them to use computers, right? Guess what? That's the process of AI. So AI is here to stay. AI is going to stay. The problem with the climate change is that that's something we can literally help and motivate and create some sort of structure and plan to make this environment better. But Kev, the issue is that nobody wants to get past those stages of a plan. We just do this like wishful thinking. It's not even a real plan. It's a pseudo plan of a plan. And so that's what we're dealing with right now, where we actually need to get an entire plan, bullet point by bullet point, on what we're going to do. Like not 5 years from now, not 20 years from now. Now, what are we going to do now?
Yeah. Yes, I think that's a good idea. I think the step-by-step bullet point plan is a good one. But you are going to have to get past the fact now that everybody is hip to to being lied to.
Yeah.
And somehow climate change got thrown on that big, pile of like, they're lying to you. And people are just sucking it up. I mean, have you seen this thing that's going on Twitter, which is, actually not a good look for the denialist, because you just look stupid. This post, Greta Thunberg in 2018, and I don't even know if this is a real tweet. Maybe it is. It said, a top climate scientist is warning that climate change will wipe out all of humanity unless we stop fossil fuels over the next 5 years. And so, wait, I mean, like, if you just comprehend what that says, it says, if we don't stop fossil fuels in the next 5 years. It doesn't say, but all these dumb shits, I'm sorry, you're just a fucking moron, are trying to make it seem like she's saying humanity will be wiped out in 5 years. It's like, did you read the tweet? And I just, somebody else just retweeted it and said something about it again. I was like, did you read the tweet? Do you have reading comprehension? Do you understand what it was saying? And like, so you got to get through that level of like, I don't know what it is. Just, siloed, thinking, right? And that's going to be a tough one. I don't know. The siloed thinking is harder than, to me, right now, is harder than anything. Because I love the idea of putting together a plan, and I would like, shoot, I put together a plan like 5 years ago on my blog, and I'll do it again. Maybe I should just make a website. I have like blackbearnews.org or something, and I have not made a website with it, but I'll just put a website up. It'll have one page. Here's the plan for fixing climate change. Here you go. It's like 10 bullet points. It won't be that hard.
I think the big problem, though, Kevin, and you know it and I know it as well, is when we start talking about sacrifice, immediately people start sounding the bells and sounding the alarms that it's a socialist plot takeover, socialist, communists want to take your cars away. And so
yes, they do.
The biggest issue of how to deal with that type of fear-mongering and explain to people, well, in 20 or 30 years, you're not going to have this technology anyways. They're going to take it away, and they're going to give it to the most wealthiest. You're going to be priced out of planes pretty soon. I mean, that's really where we're going at.
You're right. Yeah. Everything will be available to the all the technology and the whatever it is. It will all be. They're going to take it all back. Remember the information superhighway the internet was supposed to be? And now they're like, hold on a second. That information superhighway is dangerous. Well, because everybody figured out we were lying to them. And so now we have to call it a dangerous place on the internet where people are getting all the bad ideas. And, we got to put safety guardrails in place and, right, all that shit.
One last thing. Of this. A perfect example of this is jazz. Jazz was music for the people, right? It was music for the goddamn people. No. Guess what they did? Jazz industry priced people out of all these clubs, all these performances.
Right, they made it
$80 for every whatever it is on top of a surcharge. They're on some Ticketmaster bullshit, and now it's not music of the people anymore. It's music of the fucking yuppies who can afford the biggest champagne and all that shit.
Right.
I mean, that's where we're headed. These reversals, I mean, the only thing I can say to people listening is you have to get used to them. We're headed for so many different reversals. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're right. And, for now, enough people, well, there's a chance that the inflation will go the other way if enough people get kicked out of their houses into their Winnebago or into their trailer. And that there won't be anybody left to buy the overpriced, whatever it is, baseball tickets or football tickets or jazz tickets. Like, people will just be like, I need some food, right? So then there actually is a distinct possibility that could go the other, or I can't afford to put this $6 gallon of gas in my car. So we're
gonna get to the point, Kev, where even the trolls can't afford to troll.
Right.
All right, I'll talk to you later, man. Peace out.
Peace out. Pay attention. I can't afford it. All right. Anyways. Oh, what's up, Joseph? I didn't see you there. I just looked over, caught my eye. What's going on, Joseph? How you doing? Are you there, man? I cannot hear you for whatever reason. Okay, we'll try it again. What's up, man? How you doing? I don't know why I can't hear you. You should be on. You got a mute button on your phone or something, Joseph? Or I don't know. Oh man, for whatever reason, I cannot hear your call. Let's see. And I should be able to hear you. I don't know. If you want to try again, we could try it again. I'm getting down to the end of the end of the show times. Okay, we'll try it again. Here we go. Hello. I don't think it's on my end, Joseph. Because I should be able to hear you and nothing changed between the last caller and you. So I don't know. Sorry, man. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, frightening times seeing everybody living in the trailers in the Winnebagos and other, and tents and living under bridges and living in parks. Well, let's go. I was going to cover this, but maybe in France reports 910 dolphins washed up on an Atlantic coast. Most of them showed injuries consistent with being caught in fishing nets, other fishing equipment, or boat engines. This is since the start of the winter. Dolphins being decimated by what? By human activity. By human activity. Is it just the wealthy people that they're killing all the dolphins? I want to ask. I want to ask the smart people. If it's just the rich people. Only rich people kill dolphins or eat fish or eat tuna. Regions of the world where raw materials required for green transition are located may be uninhabitable long before enough materials can be acquired. Square that circle. From Peter Dines. Yeah. You're going to have to dig out those minerals real fast because it's going to get real hot. Too hot for mining today. I got to shut it down. But what about all the green energy we're supposed to be getting to? I don't know, man. Feeling a little bit faint, a little lightheaded. From Citizens Free Press, I don't know. This is a weird tweet, but drought-ridden California is releasing 20,000 cubic feet per second into the ocean from Folsom because there's no place to store it. I don't know. This is a weird, again, I don't know if this is very well a very well educated take on this because I hear people talking about, oh, we're releasing all this. We just got all this rain and we're releasing it into the oceans. Well, that's where it's supposed to go. That's how it happens. Water goes, rains and it goes down into a river and the river goes into the ocean. That's how it's supposed to go. You seem upset about nature working the way it's supposed to work. I don't really understand. But we're humans and we're supposed to get in there and control it all. And, save all the water and store it all and, do the things with it. So that I just said, if we didn't, this wouldn't be an issue if we didn't have climate change happening. We would have a functioning climate. And then, I'm not to say that droughts don't ever happen or, large amounts of rainfall don't ever happen. Those things happen over time, over millennia. But, it's like there's two sides to the rainfall story. And one is like, one of them is that salmon haven't been getting enough water. There isn't enough like natural rainfall. The drought has affected the salmon population now. But if we block all the rainfall and all the water and store all the water and create more dams and reservoirs and stuff, then that's going to have a knock-on effect. Dams are not good for nature. Dams are actually anti-nature. They're taking down dams. I think Washington State is taking it down. I think there's another dam, maybe in California, Northern California, that they're taking out. They're taking them out because they destroy nature. They destroy ecology, because they're disruptive, right, to the way nature works. But golly gee, we got to store all the water and hold all the water back and dam all the water and, I don't know. Why don't we do something else? We need more water for more people, more water, more people, more water, more people, more food, more stuff. Well, those times are about to go away. Unfortunately. Those times are about to go away because there's going to be a lot less water and eventually there's going to be a lot less people. And so that problem may solve itself. I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place in the last couple of minutes here. But more on this. Jim Bendel is really going after George Monbiot for being a lame. But George Monbiot talking about how the Dutch farmers, they won, we were talking about the Dutch farmers winning, and they tried to kind of, even in that article I was reading, they were trying to make it seem like, oh, well, they're all fascists and racists. And I'm like, that's not going to be the way to go with that one. Yeah, Jem is really holding him to account, and I find it pretty good work on Jem's part and refreshing. But George Monbiot is a knucklehead. He's like, well, the far right's latest cause: manure flinging Dutch farmers and the Great Reset. Blah blah blah. There are forces at play here, large forces at play, right? And I think having a better conversation around, so nitrogen is an issue, but feeding people is an issue, and putting people out of their farms, maybe that's not the best way to go about it. Again, I've said in the past, I'm on either side of this issue. I can see the validity of both sides of this. But this whole, like, the far right, I mean, listen, man. Listen. Everybody who you don't agree with is not a fascist, far right, crazy lunatic, okay? That's just not, let's stop with that. Let's stop going there with that. Imposing your will and kicking people off their land, or kicking people off the land, or having the police, come crack down on protesters. I mean, that kind of looks a little fascist, right? So who's the fascist? I'm wondering. wondering about that, George Monbiot. But it just, I don't know. George is just lost, or he's not lost. He's just paid very well, I guess. Maybe he's just the new face of fascism, right? He's just the influence peddler for the Guardian now. Anyways, Jem replying to George Monbiot and all his, fascist slinging. He said, "You will now need to label a lot of Dutch people fascist or pawns of fascism for having different ideas on greening economies than yours." Right. Everybody who does not agree with you is not a fascist. Everybody who has a different take is not a fascist. Everybody who has, different policy, you may not agree with them. Maybe you don't think it's the right way to go. I don't know, but you don't have to call them all fascist and racist. It's just so ridiculous. And it's, are we over it yet? Are we tired of this yet? Anybody who votes for Bernie is a is a racist. You don't like this war? You're a Putin puppet, fascist, racist, Trumper. What? What are you talking about? No, I just don't like this war. There are people living in trailers. Anyways, as a decent lifelong green, it will hurt you. It will hurt when you discover how unhelpful you became. Better to listen for a bit. Is what he's selling to George Monbiot. Why don't you listen to what people are saying? But they're not going to do that. I mean, it's the same thing as when Trump won and and people were like, I'm unhappy with the status quo. Right, I'm unhappy with what's going on. It might be a protest vote. It might be like, hey, let's. Maybe Trump is the, I didn't vote for Trump. I'm not. Okay, just please. I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm just trying to outline the situation. People saw it as a protest vote. People saw it as a let's shake up the system. He said drain the swamp, and they really understood that there is a swamp, and they thought, well. Maybe this guy. How about this guy? We tried with Obama. That didn't work. Right? There were a lot of Obama voters that voted for Trump. Like, quite a few. So it's not that weird. And it's a little stupid to call people racist for voting for Trump who voted for Obama 2 years in a row. Because there were plenty of people who did that. Why? Because they were like, I don't know, Bush is so horrible. Let's try Obama. Okay? Oh, come on, man. Get in there and do the work. Do it. Oh, we'll vote for you again. Do it. And then they're like, oh, man. Yeah, he did it. He did it to us again. So, 2016, well, Hillary Clinton looks like she's going to keep going with the same things that Obama let us down on. So, Trump. How about this guy? That's the situation. But they tried to tell you for 4 years that, oh my God, you didn't like, Hillary Clinton. You're a fascist, misogynist. That, come on, man, come on. Let people have, feelings and ideas and opinions different from you, without, labeling them the worst of the worst. You don't have to like them. You don't have to agree with them. You could probably even think that they're stupid, but don't go all the way to the they're fascists and racists and the deplorables, right? The very worst of the worst. Okay. But George Monbiot has definitely lost the plot, and whatever. I don't even know if it's even. Worth it to keep telling you how stupid George Monbiot is, because he is, or he's not stupid. He's not stupid. Let me rephrase that. He's a tool, which might mean that he's stupid, but he's a tool because either he's too dumb to know that what he's parroting is ridiculous, or it's intentional. I happen to actually think it's more on the intentional side. But I mean, George Monbiot is I have no respect for the person anymore. And he can think different things from me. That's fine. I don't have any respect for him anymore. I hope he gets it together. But like, you know, there are people out there that are just carrying water for the establishment and whatever it is they do. And if he thinks, you know, he's gonna have anybody's ear on climate change now, he won't. I don't care what George Monbiot has to say about anything now, because, you know, I don't have the ears to listen to this guy anymore. And it's unfortunate because there are plenty of climate change aware people out there that are kind of rocking in the same boat. And I just got to say, like, yeah, just, you know, don't apply I think I know what's going on with climate change to everything else immediately. You gotta kind of pick through the weeds there. You got to pick through the subjects. You got to pick through the topics. You got to, you know. I really do enjoy Jem Bendel's take or transformation or whatever you want to call it, but he seems to be at least willing and have the ability to, you know, understand the pulse of the people and what's going on out there, right? Not to the degree that he can, you know, and he's a climate change activist, but he's not so ensconced in academia, wrapped himself in the flag of righteous, you know, I don't know what you want to call it, righteous academia, that he's just gonna go with the establishment narrative on everything else too, right? You know, he's not applying that same, you know, uncritical outlook to, you know, how about COVID? How about Ukraine? How about whatever? Oh yeah, whatever they're saying, yes. Science or something. You know, he's willing to kind of like dissect the issues and take them one at a time, and I respect him for that. All right. Oh, thanks, Timothy. I appreciate that. Yes, this channel is very kettled. This channel is extremely kettled. It's all good. All right, guys. Yes, Nadia, Bill Clinton neoliberalized the Democratic Party with the DLC. Hillary Clinton won't attract many left-leaning people like that. Well, if you remember, you know, Obama actually talked a really good progressive game. You know, he was literally the Bernie Sanders of that particular election. And Hillary Clinton was the establishment. He was the Bernie Sanders of that election, and he won on a progressive policy platform. And then he, you know, immediately turned his back on everything that he promised. And then people got wise to that after a while. And then the next time that the actual Bernie Sanders came around, they're like, no, not this time, pal. We're not rocking with you. Anyways. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I will see you all tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And until next time, peace.